What's up guys, in today's video I'm going to show you how you can unlock the 4K damage badge and drop high kills with Revenant in Season 9. About a month ago I had my best game ever with Revenant, 6K damage and 22 kills, but I didn't do a guide style video, and with Revenant being buffed recently I felt this was a good time to finally do the 4K damage guide video. So, in this video I will explain my thought process and how I was able to have this game and give you some specific tips for Revenant so you can have a game just like I did. Oh, and this was my first 4K damage ever using the Wingman, so it felt pretty dope. Anyways, let's get into the video. And since we're now on the OG World's Edge map, the best place to get a good start to the game is going to be Capital City, 100%. If you guys didn't play World's Edge in Season 3, this is the best version of World's Edge in my opinion. And Capital City is much more playable. There's a lot more space to play. There's no lava, obviously. It's bright, it's beautiful, it's more spread out just by a little bit. But anyway, you want to go Capital City. And when you go Capital City, it's best just a 50-50 one team if possible. And once you win that, you will certainly be close enough to more fights going on nearby. And hopefully you can take those fights and win them like we did here. It's important to note in this game, specifically early on, I just sent the fights with what I had. I wasn't looking for loot, I was looking for fights. I had a Mozambique, and then I got a Spitfire briefly, and then I was able to swap to a Wingman and just continue on with that loadout until I was able to get a better shotgun. As I'm sure a lot of you guys know, lobbies these days tend to die out pretty quickly. After you make it off drop, whether you fight a team or two, you could look up and see close to half of the lobby dead already. That's why it's so important to get a good start off drop. You just never know how many teams you'll be able to find after you make it past the initial first few fights off drop. So after we take out this team here, we do end up getting third party pretty quickly. Here's where I end up swapping to a better shotgun. And as soon as my teammate calls out that another team is here, I see that my Gibraltar is really low. So I'm like, all right, let's shift to the building. We'll have cover, but let's ultimately take high ground here. I'm about to have totem. And with Gibby low, I think it's a good opportunity to use my totem. I never know what type of team I'm going against. They could be really aggressive. They could try to get to us pretty soon. So I decided to totem from height, put it behind some cover, and then I drop. But I want to show you something important here. As soon as I drop, I see somebody go up the other side. So I ultimately tell my teammates, stay up there with the totem. See, the totem is an ability that can backfire. If somebody came up on the other side and we had all dropped, they could potentially either shoot out the totem or camp the totem, and that could just be a bad outcome. So we stayed up there. We were able to get this knock on the Bloodhound. I dropped just to thirst him. My death protection runs out. I get the thirst. And then my two teammates engage with the other two. And then I look to get involved. I do like 90 to the Wraith. She's going to take height. So I try to find her. I see my teammates fighting somebody else. So it's a game of cat and mouse right now. We're just trying to find these guys. And then my teammate is about to go down. He had knocked one. And then this Octane had gotten away. So I baited the res. And then I was like, I got to thirst this Wraith. Got to thirst for that extra damage. I'll talk about that in a second. And Gibby goes for the res. He gets knocked, but I cleaned it up. If you don't thirst for extra damage, it's going to be really hard to get the 4K organically. You either have to, one, see enough people to make up for that damage that you missed out on thirsting, or two, farm teams enough to make up for that damage. You get an extra 100 damage from thirsting opponents, so it's really critical when that starts to add up. The best way I've found I like to drop 4Ks is to play with one friend in trios. I don't do the no-fill option, I roll the dice with a random teammate, and here's why. Usually the random won't be that good, but they're at least another body for enemies to shoot at. And with Bloodhounds so common these days, if a Bloodhound scans and sees an advantage like a 2v3, or even I guess a 1v3, the Bloodhound team will just ape you. Doesn't matter if they did any damage to you or not, so having a third teammate can be helpful, but sometimes it has backfired because they end up stealing kills or damage. But luckily, this Gibby was chill, and later on in the game when I knew I could get this 4K, and I told him that, he was helpful, and by helpful, I mean he didn't do too much. That's what you need your teammates to do. They should be there to help you if you need it, but otherwise they just gotta not do too much. So sometime during this fight, my frames were dropping like crazy. There's something up with this new update that has caused a lot of performance issues for me and my PC. I normally have like 120 to 140 FPS, but during the middle of the game, I was on like 60 to 80 FPS, which was horrendous, making it really hard to fight, especially with a gun like the Wingman. But I wasn't going to let that stop me from having a 4K damage game. So I ended up sending on the Bloodhound, was able to get the knock. I tell my teammates, leave the Bloodhound, I need to thirst him. I pop a Phoenix here just to get full health. I believe it was a 3v2 that we took because I had already knocked that Valkyrie. But I always heal up just to be sure. You never know if you're going to get thirded, especially in a hectic place like Capital City. We end up hunting down the last one on the team, which was an Octane. Octanes are really annoying when you have to chase them because they're just 10 times faster than you. But I end up getting the knock and wiping that squad. Quickly after that, I realized nobody else was in Capital City, so I was like, all right, we got to move. And we also had to move for the zone. So we end up going to Train Yard and running into a team. Once again, I decided to use the totem, put it behind some cover. This totem push was pretty ineffective though because of their angles versus mine. So I end up getting sent back pretty quickly. I'm going to fast forward a little bit because not much happens. Gibby's pretty low. I look to cover for him. And then right about here, I hear someone fly in on my east. And then behind me, someone just falls out of the sky. Hit some nice shots on her. And I'm able to knock this Octane as well. Get the squad wipe. I back up here. I have found 0 batteries like this whole game. So because there was another team, I swapped to the blue armor. I don't want to take the risk of slow healing and having that other team pushing. If you even get the hunch that another team is close and could third party you right after you just wrapped up a fight, do not hesitate to armor swap, even if it's to a lesser armor than what you already have. Because you always got to think about the time it's going to take for you to heal versus how quickly that team will be there to fight you. So at this point, I'm just waiting for one of these guys to drop. And once I catch the Pathfinder on a scan, I'm able to get a knock on him. And then Crypto will drop shortly after. I don't do any damage to Crypto besides being able to thirst him, which still helps my case in getting this 4K. Then I quickly shift my attention to thirsting Pathfinder. I knew their third wasn't really a threat because they weren't shooting us. They were probably just going to run. And I'm going to fast forward a bit, but the Bangalore ends up leading us on a wild chase where she goes to respawn both of her teammates, which was honestly what I wanted to have her do because there were initially 3 teams left and one team had completely died to the zone. So I kind of needed these guys to get respawned in order to get some more damage. If you guys are still watching, I would really appreciate you consider subscribing to this channel. I'm closing in on 10,000 subscribers, which is a huge milestone for me. So if you enjoy the content and would like to see more, I hope you'll think about subscribing. So obviously I aped this team because 2 of them just got respawned and I'm able to clean this up pretty quickly. I know where the third team is. They are on the high ground from Lava Fissure side. They have snipers. I heard a triple take and a sentinel. So they're going to clean up this fight here pretty quickly. They kill the third guy. So I wasn't able to thirst all of them. But since I know where they're at and I know that it's just going to be a straight up 3-on-3, I'm pretty confident I'll go into this fight getting the 4K damage. Dropping a 4K damage game with the Wingman is something I always wanted to do, but it's definitely really hard to do it with. The Wingman is a true skill gap weapon, and it's a difficult weapon to use. It's the opposite to the Spitfire where you have 500 bullets and any player can just mow you down with it. Certainly if you're not that comfortable with the Wingman, there are better and easier weapons to do this with. Guns like the Volt, R301, Flatliner, R99 are some of my recommendations, and those weapons are definitely going to be easier for the majority of the player base. Going into this last fight and needing less than 500 damage to get this 4K, I knew this was going to happen, especially since my teammate just hooked me up with a Prowler as well. Now this team decided to shift from the zip line and take this high ground over here, but we decided to cut them off to force them to the low ground. I felt this was a perfect opportunity for me to use my totem, put it behind some cover, and force these guys off of high ground. Gibby also used his ultimate here, which kind of screwed me up, but it ultimately forced them off as well. I see the Bloodhound lacking, so I decided to challenge. I get the knock. I'm going to quickly thirst, and the other 2 had ran north. So I was like, all right, told my teammates here, do not kill them. Don't even shoot them. I will get them. I just have to make it to them. They understood. They responded with, yeah, we got you. So I decided to work an angle here on the wide right, and I'm able to clean this up. This is how you drop 4K damage with Revenant in Season 9. The last thing I'll add is having a Bloodhound as a teammate is definitely helpful. As you'll see how many times the scans came in handy. My homie definitely helped with the Bloodhound scans. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please slap a like on it to show the YouTube algorithm what is good. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next upload. Peace.